Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Season 2, Episode 2 of Miraculous, The Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. This, as you know, as I mentioned last time, just as a reminder, is a donation reward from Smurf Vlogs. And, funny enough, in the comments of the last video, Smurf mentioned that I should just drop this. And apparently, like, he lost interest in it at some point. There's other stuff, like, he's requested from me that he'd rather me get to quicker. But as I mentioned there, and I'm going to mention here, I want to at least give it a little bit of a chance still. Because it's like this series very much has proven it has potential. Now, I don't know how far Smurf got into this before he ended up, like, dropping it or just losing interest or whatever. But I want to at least give it a little bit of a chance here. You may remember last time as well, it's been a couple weeks since we had preparations for Youmacon and everything last week. So it's been a couple weeks since we got to this, but, well, actually last Sunday was Youmacon. So, yeah. But I mentioned in the first episode of this season, I didn't like how it seemed like it was just returning shit to the status quo. Because it seemed like there was a lot that was going to be changing, a lot that was going to have to adjust to things, because of new information learned and whatnot, but then it just seems to, like, kind of reset it all. And you could kind of maybe say that, oh, but that's just a sign of this villain being too smart and just, like, being one step ahead and everything. It's like, yes, but resetting things to the status quo to how they were before and just having it so, like, nothing really has come from that entire plot point makes the plot point itself worthless. Like, you introduce all this stuff with our heroes learning all this new information and finding out all of this big stuff and the possibility of at least suspecting Adrian's father of being Hawkmoth. And it's like, you're just going to reset that and turn it back to how it was before, where it's like just where in the end none of that mattered. None of that information, none of that just development of story and characters and stuff, none of that made a difference. We're just going to how it used to be before all of that. That just seems like a bad idea. And I acknowledge that, but I still feel like I want to give this show a chance. But I am worried that it's just going to keep doing the entire episode of the week kind of thing, the enemy of the week kind of thing, and that it's not going to actually make enough real progress on the story and whatnot that's going on. I'm worried that that's going to be just so spread apart throughout even this season and beyond, that it's just going to focus more on just giving us enemies of the week rather than the actual story, which is far more interesting and just in every way better. And I can't say for sure, I don't know for sure what it's going to be like from here on out. But I don't want to, admittedly, I don't want to pussyfoot around with this. I don't want to just keep having this runaround of not getting to the point. But again, I want to give it that chance to prove itself because, again, it has the potential. And plus, I just brought it back. I almost kind of don't want to just drop it again after just bringing it back. Because it's been like, what, a year or two, something like that? Yeah, I don't think it's been quite 2 years, but a year or so, maybe a little more since we reacted to this last. And it's like, I just bring it back. I don't want to get rid of it again right away. But I feel like if I'm really afraid that it's going to do this kind of thing again, I almost feel like it's going to. I almost feel like this series is like telling us it's going to do this, and I'm just in denial because I see the potential in it again. But it's like, apparently it's like in its 4th season or something right now, and I have heard that apparently like certain things are still just kind of up in the air in regards to characters and plot points and all. I haven't heard like all the exact information on that. I just heard that certain things are still not resolved and all. And that does put a little damper on things for sure. And so I think the best way to handle this would be to do what I've kind of done in the past with certain series and basically have to put it on a as we go basis. As we continue on with the episodes, basically we continue watching until I feel like it really just drops the ball or whatever, where it just gets too bad or too repetitive, or just I just am not enjoying it, and I just feel like it would be better to move on to something else. If and that point could come after this episode, it could come after 2 more episodes down the line, or a few months from now. Heck, it might not even come, and it might just be like, okay, we just finished out the season and that hasn't happened. I don't know. But I think that's the best way to do it. To just keep watching until I really just feel done with this. And don't want to end up bringing it back due to just, again, repetitiveness and poor writing or whatever, reversing too much of the big developments and all. If it really starts to bother me, basically, if the episodes really start to just get to me, we'll drop it. I think that's the best and smartest way to handle it. It still gives us a chance to see this series capitalize on its potential, but it also leaves it open at all times in case I just don't enjoy where it's going. And I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope to hell that I don't end up having to drop it again, especially this soon. Because I don't want to. Again, especially this soon. But if I really feel like just it's squandering its potential too much, and I just feel like it's just not doing anything worth a damn, I don't see the point in continuing as well. And considering the person who donated for this, the person who requested this in the first place is even saying to just drop it and move on to other stuff, that's almost kind of a bad sign. So again, we'll give it a chance, see what it has in store, because again, it has so much potential to be great even. It just needs to actually do something with that. But we'll see. We will see, and we'll kind of take it from here. And if I drop it in a month, weeks, today, whenever it would happen, if I do, then oh well, I guess. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen, but just bring up the ideas and everything, just because it was suggested to me to just stop this and get on to other stuff and all. But again, I will only do so if I really feel like I just don't see the potential going forward enough. Either way, we are just going to get on to this episode and hope for the best. Like, just, I have my fingers crossed here. I'm just hoping for the best. I'm hoping for it to prove this all wrong and to just really be good here. But I can't say that I have a huge amount of faith based on what the show has done before. But we'll see. We'll see. Because there's been plenty of other shows that have started off very episodic and then gotten really good in season 2. I mean, look at Gravity Falls. And not that the episodic stuff in season 1 was bad. No, Gravity Falls was great in season 1 too, but you know what I mean. Either way, we're going to get on with this and see what it has in store, and hopefully see it prove me and Smurf wrong. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, amongst other things in this episode, this had the same problem that episode 1 did. Pretty much the same, just more condensed down into one episode instead of multiple and all. As I had mentioned in the pre-thoughts, the first episode had the problem of kind of just reverting everything and not really making an effort to keep any changes as lasting, to keep any notable things for the future. Just to have it like completely revert back to what it was before. And this kind of has the same issue with this episode. It almost seems like there may be some possible changes made, but it's made very clear that the status quo isn't changing. They're just basically fucking with us and giving us an episode where it looks like the status quo could possibly change, at least to some degree, but then it doesn't. And on top of that, this episode makes all of the most blatantly stereotypical poor choices you could make in this kind of scenario. Having it actually be Chloe who called the fire department and everything, it's like, yeah, that was way too obvious. It was in fact, it was so obvious that it actually makes almost no sense that it was her. Because it doesn't feel natural for it to be her because of how blatant it is. It would feel more natural if it were one of those other friends we saw hang out with Marinette and Alia. I can't remember all their names. It would make more sense for it to be one of them. Or even Chloe's friend. I can't remember her name either. But it would make more sense to be one of them instead. And it would have worked better if this episode actually had like a kind of a thorough line theme of Chloe being blamed for it just because it's Chloe, but it actually not being her, and she has to actually defend herself, and maybe even she gets evilized because of how much she's being blamed and how she's upset that no one believes that it's not her. That would have been better, drastically. But instead, no, it's actually her. And instead we get a story that is so painful, it's not funny. It's like, because it's so blatantly obvious the entire time that she's putting on an act, that the idea that anyone believes her is completely bullshit. No one would ever believe that. It is so in-your-face fake. It is so just blatantly false that the idea that any of them are believing her, just, it makes no sense. And I understand that this show probably has a demographic meant for a younger audience and all, and I get that, but that's never an excuse. Saying that the show is meant for a younger audience is never an excuse, because kids, believe it or not, notice a lot more than you believe. And even a kid could recognize, I feel, that that was so fucking fake. It's impossible to believe her. Like, oh my god. And then there's the entire teddy bear thing, which nothing ever comes of. Like, nothing ever comes of it other than, like, them slightly making fun of her at the end. Which, honestly, is not the right way to go about that. Because there's obviously nothing wrong with, what are they, middle school? A middle school girl having a teddy bear still? There's nothing wrong with a high school girl or an adult having a teddy bear. And it's just like, that's what you're going to do with that in the end? Really? And then the entire thing that someone did get evilized, I think it would have been so much more interesting if no one did. If the Akuma, and by extension Hawkmoth, could not find anyone to get evilized. And that it just never happened. That would have been so interesting and creative and unique for this series. But instead, no, they have to give someone. And while it's a kind of a creative idea that they went with in terms of the evilized form, like being the bear and everything, and he's just inside the bear controlling it and all, it's still just the same old shit. Like, in the end, that's kind of what this episode definitely felt like, the same old shit. As if nothing was really changing, as if nothing was breaking away from the status quo. It's just, this was just an Enemy of the Week episode. Nothing changed with it. There was no growth for these characters. Chloe didn't change even to the slightest. No one did. No, there was no progression of story or character here at all. It was a completely static episode that, again, just made all the wrong decisions. And just felt so forced. So, I feel it's clear that I didn't like it. Even though there were some entertaining small moments and whatnot, and maybe even a couple points that made me laugh a little, it overall was very disappointing. And honestly, I'm afraid at this point that this is all we're going to really get. That most of this series moving forward still is just going to be this. With the actual story stuff being few and far between, just randomly spread throughout. I said in the pre-thoughts that we're going to keep going until I really felt like basically this show let me down. Till I really felt like it got to that point where I just didn't really want to watch anymore. And I said it could be any time, like even today, and it's honestly today. I wanted this to prove me wrong so bad. I wanted it to do something cool or unique or like really interesting. I wanted it to cover important stuff, and it seems like it's doing like I feared with the last episode, like it's just going back to the status quo. And it's taking all that development, world building, character building that we had, and basically just throwing it out for the time being. And that's what's most disappointing, just in the end. The fact that they had so much to work off of, and they're just throwing it away. They're just reverting back to how it was before, instead of actually doing something with all of this. That's That's the part that bothered me the most. More so than just the specific issues with this episode. So, yeah, as unfortunate as it is, I think I'm going to heed Smurf's advice as the one who did recommend this and request this in the first place. I think I'm going to just heed his advice, and I think I'm going to drop this. Because while it does have the potential, I don't feel like I have enough faith that it's going to actually capitalize on it. I don't have that faith and that belief after an episode like this that's just so painfully generic and bad in terms of how it handled a lot of stuff. I feel like it's a letdown. And maybe this show ends up getting better down the line, but I don't have a lot of faith in that either, to be completely fair, at this point. And maybe you could say I'm jumping the gun. But even in season 1, you guys might remember that I was having issues until it started to get interesting. So if it's just going to go back to what it was before, I'm not going to be able to enjoy that. I'm not going to be able to wait until it does eventually decide to get good again. So, yeah. The problem this week leaves us with, though, is we've only done 2 episodes of this now. And I want the break from Fire Force to be a little longer. Because that's kind of the entire point. I want to take a break from it to refresh myself so that I don't get just completely burnt out on the series. So only taking a couple weeks off and then coming back to it just wouldn't make a lot of sense. You definitely need more of a break. And so we're going to watch something else in the meantime in the Sunday slot. It's not going to be something that's too long, and even if it were longer, we'd just do the break thing with that too. So looking at my schedule here, my list, you could say, Sunday is a donation reward slot, so I do want to keep it to that. And as I'm seeing here, a new series that isn't too long starts up this weekend. Or, I guess already has started up by the time you're seeing this. Because, reminder, I am pre-recording this. But a new series has started up this weekend that was requested a long time ago. Back when it was first announced. And it's only I think it's only 9 episodes or so. Somewhere around there, 9, 10 episodes. So, that would actually be the perfect length. To get through before we go back to Fire Force. So I think that would be the best choice since it's just starting up. It's going to be 3 episodes a week. Is how its release schedule is going, because it's releasing on Netflix 3 episodes a week, which is an interesting way to do it, but no issue. But since we'll probably only do 1 episode a week anyways, it probably won't matter. But the series that we will be replacing Miraculous Season 2 with is a donation reward from a long time ago from Space Apples. It's been a while since we've had a donation reward from Space Apples, but he requested a few things well into the past. Back when they were first announced, and this was one of them. The League of Legends Netflix series Arcane. So, yeah, that will be starting right away next week. And I'll talk more about it in the actual first episode video, but I'll just say here I am pretty interested in this due to having played League of Legends, and one of the main focused characters being one of the characters I mained when I've played League of Legends, being Jinx. So, yeah. I am definitely very interested to see what they do with this and what, like, all this backstory stuff is with Jinx and Vi and all. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty interesting. But like I said, that will start next week, and that's like only, again, 9 episodes or so. 3 episodes are released a week, but we won't have to worry about that. And then we'll get right back to Fire Force after that. It's just, I don't want to get to Fire Force again yet because, again, we haven't had enough time to wait. And I don't want to get back into it too early and end up getting burnt out again. Or getting burnt out in the first place, but you know what I mean. So yeah. I do apologize to everyone who is a fan of Miraculous, who would have loved to see this go further and all. I can't do it. I can't force myself to sit through it as much as I would like to continue to give it a chance. It would bother me a little too much. But with us getting to Arcane and everything, that means other stuff on the donation reward block does move up, so we're getting closer to other stuff too for anyone who is waiting for something else to come back or to start in terms of donation reward reactions. We are getting closer to other stuff. This was just next on the list, plus with the timing of it all, it just works out really well, admittedly. Especially with its length, with its shorter length. So that will start next week, and we'll get to everything else shortly after. I apologize to everyone again, but I'm not going to force myself through something. I will say, though, that we probably won't come back to Miraculous in the future either. This is probably going to be it for that on the channel. I just feel like it's not going to be something that, at least for me, is going to be worth reacting to again. So maybe I'll watch it on my own time, because it is on Netflix. I can watch it on my own time at any point. But maybe I'll watch it on my own time, and if anything ever happens that really, like, I really take note of, I can say something maybe. But yeah. I don't know. We'll kind of just take it as it goes, I guess. But for now, it is over on the channel. I am sorry, but it's what I feel we have to do. Especially, again, since the person who requested it in the first place doesn't even want me to react to it anymore. That is kind of funny. But yeah, and I kind of agree at this point. So, as much as I wanted to give it another chance, as sad as it is to drop a series and to not be proven wrong, to be proven right, I have to do this. So yeah, next week we'll begin right away with Arcane. And thank you all so much for understanding and for continuing to watch the channel. And hopefully there will be more series and more stuff coming in the future that you'll be excited for. Or maybe there's something already on the channel that you're excited for. Please check everything out and enjoy as much as you can. For now, though, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.